So during this video, we're going to go over how we're going to go about selecting the weight we're going to use for each exercise during this program. So rather than basing our loads or our weights off of a percentage of our 1 rep max or a repetition maximum, we're just kind of, randomly selecting a weight whenever we go into the gym. We're going to use the concept of autoregulation to determine what weights we use. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with autoregulation, all this is it's a method which allows us to determine the weight we use that day based upon how we feel and how recovered we are. So, for example, we all have good days in the gym and we all have bad days. We all have those days where we get to the gym, that maybe the day before was an off day, we have a ton of energy, we're super recovered, we're not sore, maybe we had a high carb meal the night before or that morning, and we just feel super powerful and explosive. And then we also have those, those bad days whenever we get to the gym and we're sore, maybe we got a poor night's sleep the night before, maybe we hadn't been eating enough, maybe we have stressors from work or a relationship, and we get to the gym and even our warm-up weights feel heavy. So all autoregulation does is it allows us to take advantage of those days when we do feel really good and we do have this extra energy, and it also keeps us from, kind of driving ourselves into the ground on those days, we don't feel good, and, things, like I said, we feel fatigued or maybe we're sore, which can, help prevent against injuries and things like that. So before I get into how we're going to go about using autoregulation to program our loads for this program, I just kind of want to make the caveat that there are a bunch of different ways to autoregulate. What we're using is just one method, but there is a ton of different methods and techniques. And then also, autoregulation itself is not mutually exclusive. So you could have a program where you design it based off of a percentage of 1 rep max or a repetition maximum or something, and then you also integrate the concept of autoregulation with that. So now with that said, let's kind of go into what we're going to do for how we're going to program our loads. So for this 7-week block, we are going to use this scale, this RPE scale, based on repetitions in reserve. And all RPE stands for is just rating of perceived exertion. So this is the scale that we're going to use to program our weights and our loads for each exercise. So essentially how it works is every set of every exercise will be given an RPE value. So for example, we might say we want to do 4 sets of 10 reps on squats, and each set at an RPE of 8. So when you look at the chart, all that means is you would do the set until you could do 2 more reps in reserve, and then you would quit the set. So just to make that a little less confusing, like I said, it's based on repetitions in reserve, so how far away we are from failure. So if it's a 10, if a set is prescribed at a 10 RPE, all this means is that that's maximum effort for you. You could not have done any more reps or any more weight. It's your maximum effort. So 10 being max effort. And then from there, you have 9. So 9 would be 1 away from failure. 8 would be 2 reps away from failure. 7 would be 3 reps away from failure. And then these little halves, these 8.5s, these 7.5s, that's just between the two. So if a 9 is 1 rep in reserve or 1 rep away from failure, and an 8 is 2 reps away from failure, an 8.5 is you could definitely have gotten one more rep and possibly 2 more reps. So you're not quite sure whether you could have gotten 1 or 2 more reps. And then likewise, if 8 is 2 reps in reserve from failure, and a 7 is 3 reps in reserve from failure, a 7.5 would be somewhere between 2 to 3 reps away from failure. And the list continues to go down, but primarily what we're going to be concerned with is these numbers right here. And just to, I guess, clarify a little bit more, because the program we're doing is focused around building and accumulating volume throughout the program, you'll notice that a majority of the RPEs we're going to be aiming for each set, and if this is confusing, it'll make a lot more sense kind of once you see how things are lined out. But essentially, the majority of the RPEs we're going to be aiming for are going to be submaximal. So they'll be, around an 8, 8.5, 7.5, 7. They'll be somewhere, a majority of what we do will be submaximal, so a few reps away from failure, and that's where you'll end the set. And this is just because we're trying to build volume and accumulate volume, we don't want to fatigue ourselves too early in the program and plateau. So, I mean, for example, we're going to be hitting shoulders 3 times a week. So we're doing a lot of pressing movements. So essentially, I mean, not quite, but about every 48 hours, we're going to be doing some sort of pressing. So if you were to go super hard one workout and take everything to a 10 RPE or everything to failure, then 48 hours later, most likely you're not going to be completely recovered, and that's going to affect your performance on the next workout. So you're not going to be able to lift the amount of weight you normally could or do it for the amount of reps you normally could. And, likewise, what was I going to say? Oh, and that creates kind of like a snowball effect. So like I said, if you do it one workout and then it screws up the next workout, and then you do it that workout and it screws up the next workout, you start to create this snowball effect, and it really, it messes up and interferes with what we're trying to do, which is progressively do more reps and more weight as we go throughout this 7 weeks. So because we have this long-term goal of building volume and increasing volume throughout these 7 weeks, it's really important that we give ourselves accurate, honest RPE ratings. So for example, if we do a set and we're shaking at the end and we realistically couldn't have gotten another rep, it was like a 9.5 or a 10, we couldn't have done anymore, but on the paper we write down it's an 8 RPE, that's not doing ourselves any good, because what it's doing is just interfering with that long-term plan. So it's just really important to give yourself honest, accurate RPEs for every set. And this is something that takes a while to get used to. So if you're somebody who is new to lifting, or you just don't have a lot of experience with lifting, or you've never used a scale like this before, it's going to take you a little while to get used to using it, and that's okay. The key is just, as you're doing a set, just remember what RPE value you're aiming for, and with your current experience, just try to get as close to that as you can. So with every single set in your logbook, once you finish a set, write down the RPE you had and then evaluate it. So if you give something an 8 RPE after the set, really think about it. Like, okay, was that an actual 8 RPE? Did I really have 2 more reps in me until I would have hit failure? Or did I push it a lot harder and I maybe had 1 more? Or did I sandbag it? Did I call something an 8 RPE? Did I say I was only 2 reps away from failure, but I was really sandbagging it and it was really like a 6, or I could have done 4 more. So just try to be accurate and honest with your RPEs and practice it, and over time you'll develop that skill and you'll get more accurate with it. And really, when we do these sets, if we have something programmed at an 8, there's more of a range, because it's pretty hard to hit an 8 RPE right on the money every single set. So really, you have an 8 in mind, but you might fall somewhere between a 7 and a 9. So there's really kind of a range, and that's okay. So it's like maybe some sets you hit like a 7 or a 7.5, and then maybe one set you hit an 8.5. You'll kind of, but the goal is just important to to remember that what we're aiming for and what we're shooting for is the actual RPE we have programmed for that set. Now, there will be times, if you are feeling really good, like I know I do this with myself as well, like you are feeling really good, you have a lot of energy, and maybe a couple sets that day for some of your compound lifts, you go ahead and you aim for that upper end. So maybe we have it programmed at an 8, but maybe you push it to a few of those sets, you push to an 8.5. Maybe even one set you push to a 9, just something because you are feeling so good. Again, what's so great about autoregulation is it allows us to take advantage of that. we just don't want to do this too much to where, like I said, it just interferes with the long-term plan and fatigues us too much. You know, if we were feeling so great, we just, you know, killed that workout. But by doing that, we messed up the entire week or the next 2 weeks. You know, that's not what we're going for. And then just two last quick things to note is with our warm-up sets. So when we do warm-up sets, the goal is to warm up those muscles and that motor pattern. So if you do a warm-up set and you finish the set and you rack it, and you're like, oh, that was probably a 7 RPE, I probably had 3 more reps in the tank. That means you're going too heavy, because with the warm-up sets, we don't want them to be fatiguing. So when you finish a warm-up set, like I said, all it is meant to do is warm us up. It's not meant to fatigue us or, you know, really contribute significant additional volume to our workout. So when you finish a warm-up set, it should be so light and so non-fatiguing, non-stressful that you couldn't have given it an RPE value. So you finish the set and you honestly couldn't have said it was a 7 or an 8 or, you know, an 8.5, because you honestly don't know, because it was so light and you were so far away from failure. And then the last thing I want to, you know, just kind of say is to remember that we do have, you know, like I said, those good days, and we do have those bad days, whether it's from a poor night's sleep or, like I said, inadequate nutrition or, you know, life stressors, whatever it is. You know, we do have those days where, you know, we might go into the gym and we're not able to hit, you know, the same weight that we hit the previous workout. And it's important to not get discouraged by this, you know, when you do have those bad days. You know, because what we're really looking at is, you know, over this 7 weeks and really over your lifting career, how we should kind of gauge progress is, are we, over time, are we getting stronger? Are we adding weight to the bar? Over time, over these 7 weeks, you know, are we doing more reps? Are we doing more sets? So our progress is never going to be, you know, week 1, workout 1, we start here, and then for the entire 7 weeks, it's just perfection. And in the end, it's like we added weight and did more reps every single day. It just doesn't work like that. So it might be, you know, you start off good, and then, you know, you have a bad day or a few bad days, and then you come back and have some better days and maybe a bad day, and you kind of work your way up like this. So you have your good days and your bad days. But what we're looking at is, if we step back, and like I said, this applies to not only this program, but just to our lifting careers in general. When we kind of step back and look at these 7 weeks, did we end up doing more weight, you know, more reps, more sets than when we started? And if we did, you know, we made progress. That was our goal. So if you guys have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. I'm not sure with the lighting, if you can actually, you know, how well you'll be able to read this, but I will go ahead and type the RPE scale we're going to be using down in the description box below. Like I said, if you guys have any questions or you need further clarification, if I didn't explain something enough about the scale or how to use it, just leave it in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. And I'll see you guys soon.